Hello everybody, Loki Magics, another day, another video, and yet again we have another fusion champion, but we always want to know, is this champion worth it? Some of them are good and some of them aren't, right? So if that sounds like something you want to know, let's get into this video. Alright, so let's get into it. Now you can see in the background we got Bushi, Bonekeeper, Necro Hunter, and Basher. Almost forgot Basher's name. But regardless, these four champions is what's needed to fuse the new legendary champion. Now, the real question is, should we keep these champions or should we fuse these champions? And the short answer really is yes. If you have these four champions or you have the ability to fuse the rares to get these epic champions, I would absolutely fuse these champions for the new legendary, because overall I think the new legendary champion does have some promises. I don't think this champion will be meta in any way, shape, or form, but I think that one legendary champion can carry a new account pretty far. New to mid-game account, I think this champion could take you pretty far. So if you could afford it, I would definitely go for the new legendary champion. But for these four champions in particular, I don't think they're worth keeping. Most of you guys are probably mid to end game anyways, and you already know you don't need these champions. Now the only thing I will recommend though is if you're a newer account and you're looking for one epic to go for, if you can't do the legendary, I would definitely go for Basher. Basher is a pretty good champion for newer accounts. His kit is pretty diverse. He'll help you out in campaign and also in the arena. And also, for some reason, Basher gets used a lot in fusion events. So if maybe you can't get this legendary this time around, but at least get Basher so you have a decent epic void champion. And also in the future fusion events, he might be there again, and now you can fuse the new legendary. So that would be my only recommendation for keeping these epics or not. But anyways, let's go and talk about the new legendary now. Is this champion good, bad, crap, or whatever it is, right? So let's get into that right now. Here she goes, Kantra the Cyclone. Now looking at her, she's okay looking. I feel like she kind of resembles more of an epic champion. There's really nothing impressive here. She kind of falls flat on her design. Not the best work we've seen from Polarium, but you could tell that they did spend a lot of time on her head design. She has like her own unique looking face, right? I know that sounds kind of weird, but I can see that's where all the effort went. But outside of that, she's not that impressive looking. But hey, maybe she can make it up with her skills. So let's talk about that, because in this game skills is everything. And speaking of skills, there's already tons of videos out there on the champion on what she does, but I just really wanted to point out a few things about her kit so that way maybe you could have a better understanding of the champion. So let's start off with her A2. Her A2 does attack all enemies 3 times, but it doesn't hit that hard, and it does make sense because if this A2 could kill everyone, then there's really no point for her to use her debuffs, right? So for her to kind of make sense, I guess, she needs to hit low and apply these debuffs. So unfortunately, she doesn't hit hard. Don't build her as a damage dealer. She is more of a crowd control type champion, really disruptive to the opposing team, right? And also, this is where it might get a little tricky on when you build her, because this passive does a lot, and the two main things that could kind of get tricky for you is that one, she will heal by 1250 HP each time a debuff expires, and what they mean by expires is the debuff has to completely fall off for you to get that heal. So you don't want to have Master Hexer, right? Because if you put Master Hexer on, that'll extend the debuff and it takes longer for it to fall off. But at the same time, this has a 75% chance of placing provoke debuff for 1 turn on enemies under 5 or more debuffs. So what do you want to do? Do you want to put Master Hexer on to extend the debuff so you could provoke, or do you not want to do it so you could heal more? So this is really going to be something that you got to think about, and it will depend on your team composition. Maybe your team comp, it doesn't matter. You have other champions that could add more debuffs, so the provoking for Kantra is not an issue, so you don't use Master Hexer. So I just wanted to point out those things about her about her skills, and now let's talk about her masteries. You know, the more I think about it, I really feel like this champion isn't friendly at all, user friendly at all, because it kind of feels like it takes a lot for her to be effective, and that's kind of the sad. Well, we'll get into that later, but anyways, this is her masteries. Now, I didn't even go on the offensive side at all because I really don't see her being any good in clan boss and also in the arena. Now, you guys can use her wherever you want, but for me, I feel like if you really want to optimize the value from this champion, you have to go with defense and support. So on defense side, right, just give her more defense. And interesting thing is right here, this actually increases the amount of heal she receives from her passive. So if you're kind of struggling on healing, use this mastery right here. And you do want to get, some damage mitigation. You do want to get increased turn meter and also counter attack. And I feel like this is really good for her because this will decrease all the damage allies receives by 5%, and this damage is taken instead. Because she is a defense type, you could make her tanky, and I feel like newer accounts need tankier champions to get the weaker champions like Cold Heart and Apothecary to actually survive, right? So this is why I went down the defensive tree. Now for her sport tree, just give her a whole bunch of accuracy. Now you could give her this one here, because it has 30% chance of increasing turn meter by 10% when a debuff cast by this champion is removed or expired. So this is very helpful for her to go even faster, because for this champion to get a lot of value to you, you need her to be fast and take multiple turns. That is really the only way I see her being useful. So we'll get into that when we get into her artifact set. So this is why I have this. Also having Evil Eye really, also having Evil Eye really helps out because, what's going on? Also having Evil Eye really helps out because it decreases the turn meter, which is very helpful. And you want to have Sniper because Sniper actually adds that 5% more of her placing her debuffs, right? And she doesn't have anything at 100%, so Sniper does definitely help. So this is really her masteries in a nutshell. I went with Lower Still because it gives you that, 15%. Little boost in her stats. And yeah, so this is why I went with this route for her masteries. Now let's talk about her artifacts. So if you guys have been playing this game for a while, yes, you guessed it, we went with Relentless set because, man, I'm telling you, this champion isn't good if she's going slow. You want this champion to take multiple turns. It's really the only way you're going to get value from this champion. Like, this champion does not make sense if it's taking one turn and everyone else is going fast. It really doesn't do anything for you because her passive, the more turns she takes, the more chances she could provoke. The more turns she takes, the more she could throw down some debuffs, right? So overall, man, this champion needs to go fast. So I got her at 239. I have her with decent HP, decent defense. Her crit rate could be a little better, crit damage okay, and I feel like around 300 accuracy is good for campaign dungeons, for content like that. So this is how I have her built out. I do have this accuracy set here, but you could use anything for this. You use speed, defense, I don't know, immortal, whatever you want to use for those two. But I really feel like Relentless is the way to go. And that's kind of like the sad thing about this champion, that I see she was intended for newer champions. I mean, not newer champions. She was intended for newer accounts, but it kind of takes a lot to make her useful. So I don't know if she's really user friendly for newer accounts, and she's really not useful for in-game accounts. So trying to find that perfect spot for her, I feel like it's going to be a challenge, and she's just going to end up in the boat. But let's show some gameplay. You guys could be, make that decision for yourself. That's just my overall opinion on this champion, but hey, you guys could do whatever you want. I'll just show you some gameplay and you can decide for yourself. Alright, so I was trying to make some gameplay footage for this champion, and every time I did it, it just felt like I'm using too much of a good legendary or epic champions to make this champion look good, because reality just hits sometimes, right? And the reality is this champion just takes too much, because I really feel like from mid to end game, you don't need the champion. There are better options out there, and for newer accounts out there that could use this champion, it just takes too much for her to set up her provoke, because yeah, she could throw out a whole bunch of debuffs and it should help you out, maybe going from beginning to mid game. And after that though, those debuffs are so random and some of them don't really do anything for you. You're going to get destroyed, because I feel like if you're relying on this champion, that means you don't have other champions that could easily replace her that mid to end game champions will have. Like, I'm an end game player, I will never use this champion for anything. She's not going to be meta, and she's really not user friendly. Like you can see right here, Pinkeeper's going to die because it just takes too much to set up 5 debuffs to get that provoke to go off every turn. That provoke every turn is an excellent passive. It will, if it wasn't 5 debuffs, and I could see maybe if it was like 3 debuffs, then that would have been cool. But yes, you could say, well, you have other champions in there that could throw up debuffs, and you're right, they can. But that's the problem. Mid to end game players has that option, and by then I seriously doubt anybody's going to be using her, And then if you're new, you don't have those options, so you're trying to use her and it just doesn't work well, because she's kind of like in that middle transition where you're not new anymore, but you're going into mid game. So I guess you could use her if that makes sense, but by then it really doesn't really help you out. So I don't know. And if anything, if I would have to say what her bread and butter, the one thing where you could use her without a doubt, I'll have to say it is in Spider Dungeons. So check this out, right? For Spider Dungeons, I could see her being useful because, I don't know, if for certain affinities, I guess, especially Spider's 20, because the Spiderlings are Spirit, she is Force, so they're going to attack her no matter what, even if she doesn't have Provoke, right? As long as she's the only Force champion in your team comp. So in that scenario, I could see her being good, but once again, I just don't see mid to end game player even messing with that, because you're probably going to have good champions that could straight up nuke and just clear Spider's 20 a lot quicker. So I don't know, but anyways, Fire Knight 20, right? So Fire Knight 20, here's the thing, she could look good on paper, she could look good in many team comps with strong champions, and we did pull it off here with some epic and rares, so she can do it. But once again, I have to put pretty good gear on these champions, and that's kind of like the thing. If you're a new player, you don't have good gear, so you're not really going to worry about it, right? You're not gonna get to do what other YouTubers are doing, and that's the thing I'm really trying to stress to you guys. She's not user friendly, and she's really not going to take your account to the next level. Okay, so let's wrap this video up. What is it about this champion? Is this champion worth using? To be honest, I think if you're brand new, sure, if you got the champions, do it. But if you're mid to end game, I mean, most people are probably going to fuse her just because it's a legendary, and you never know what's going to happen down the line. She might get buffed, and I really hate how that's the standard. I really hate how hoping that these champions get released and they get buffed later is the mentality of most people nowadays, and I feel like that's pretty bad. And also something else to think about is that this fusion is only buying time for Polarium. Polarium right now is trying to release the new patch, and they're trying to, I guess, make it seem like they're adding more content, but they're not. All they do is add more champions, and this time they added a subpar champion, really not that good. So this fusion is really a distraction. It doesn't really help out anybody. Only brand new accounts is the only account that this fusion is really helping. Outside of that, this fusion event is horrible. Can we please just get some content? If we could just get some content, I'll rather have content than this fusion. But hey, maybe this fusion is considered content because we have nothing else to do. So anyways, that's my opinion on this champion. I don't think it's worth it for mid to end game. If you're new, sure, go for it, but don't book her. And honestly, there's much better champions out there for you to clear content. So just keeping it real. You guys enjoy your week. Be safe, have fun. Catch you on the next one.